We all know what pandering is, but hopefully this video will just highlight just how much of it there is out there. Now, the subject of this video is a woman called Kathy O'Brien. In the common parlance, people refer to her as a conspiracy theorist. I'll use the more technical term, a bullshit artist. Now, with this video, please forgive me for some choppy editing. You might see an edit of a clip where the speaker is cut off mid-sentence or mid-word. That's just because this woman, she just doesn't stop talking, so there's just no space to cut the clip. So that is what it is. So let's start with the first clip.
It's who we are, gets shattered and compartmentalized in the brain. It's, again, the way the brain responds to trauma. We've been born with a defense mechanism where the neuron pathways of the brain actually shut down around the trauma, repress it, bury it in the mind, so the rest of the mind can develop and function normally as though nothing has happened. And we're dissociative of that trauma until those neuron pathways are triggered open for whatever reason and whatever purpose. But once it's triggered back open.
So first of all, let me just state the obvious. None of that is actually true, or based on any evidence at least. So it's a word salad, a mumbo jumbo of technical words describing trauma, which is not something that anyone should take seriously. What this kind of rhetoric does, what the real purpose of what she's doing, is that she's pandering to people's desire to be knowledgeable. People like to think that they know how the human mind works. People like to think that they know psychology. And, to actually study these things is extremely difficult. Along comes this woman who can give you a nice, neat, well, complicated sounding, but it's not, what she said isn't actually that complicated. Something that people can easily understand and feel like they're in the know, they're educated, they're knowledgeable. And if they just follow this woman and her books and her speeches, they will become knowledgeable, erudite, respected people. Let's look at the next clip.
Yeah, I'm living proof that anybody can heal from any level of trauma or torture or sophisticated MK-Ultra mind control programming, that we can face the reality of what in the world is going on, how we got this handful of dark energy force perpetrators manipulating our brilliant minds and lives. We don't need any of that. And when we realize...
So here you see she's pandering to people's desire to have exclusive knowledge, to know something that most other people don't. That particular knowledge that they have is something, let's be honest, these conspiracy theories, they're very entertaining things. So it's entertaining, it's interesting, the details are salacious, and people feel privileged, important to know these things. So that desire to be in this group is not by any way assuaged by the fact that the story is complete and utter nonsense. So that something that's conveniently just put to one side, or not even considered at all. It's what it is just fulfilling an emotional need people have based on nothing. Let's look at the next clip.
Because it is absurd that it's even going on. It's inexcusable that it is. We, the people, humanity, has all the power. We just forgot. We've been conditioned for generations to look outside ourselves to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult-to-cult religion to tell us how to live our lives.
So you saw there that she is pandering to the human desire to have all our troubles, all our hurt, all the difficulties in our life explained away not by the circumstances, by our own lives, but by shadowy figures, puppet masters, people pulling the strings, and whatever misfortune or whatever emotional torment you find yourself in. It's not really anything. I'm not saying that's what happens to people is necessarily their fault, but it is circumstances that they are in with their own, in their own environment, in their own communities, in their own families. But it's pandering to the abrogation of responsibility, that whatever happens to you is nothing to do with you. It's all the fault of these shadowy figures, and all that blame, all that negative feeling can be placed upon them, which is a terrible thing, because when you do that, you're not really looking at your own surroundings, what's going on with you, and what you can do to make your life better. Let's look at the next clip.
And look how these people like go for it. Like, I mean, they are under, I'm just talking about the youth. They are totally under heavy duty lemming mind control. I mean, it's just so sad. They can't be, it's like as if they can't see how they're participating in their own demise. They can't see it.
They need to be able to see it.
So that was a very similar kind of clip, pandering to people's paranoia. And you saw Roseanne, the host of the show, who, along with the guest, Kathy O'Brien, is very ruthless about pandering to paranoia, pandering to people's desire to feel that there's dark forces out to get them. And that they will do this because it's entertaining, it's engaging, it's intriguing, and people will, in a sense, this might seem like an incredible crime, in a sense, enjoy this sense of paranoia, which is a negative and self-defeating emotion. But the two women in this clip will just absolutely ruthlessly pander to that particular desire. Let's look at the next clip.
New World Order, slave society agenda, where a handful of big guys make all the money and we do all the work. Those of us who survived to that point. We need to understand that we share this planet with very dark energy force perpetrators who are not like us, and they do not like us. And they are manipulating us by our fears, and they're targeting our children. They're going for a multi-generational conditioning.
So here she's pandering to people's sense of victimhood, that what happens to us is that we are the victim, therefore we are the virtuous, we are the faultless, and that things are done to them are done by the evildoers. It's very unambiguous, the good guys and the bad guys, that people who are truly evil and shadowy are inflicting pain on people who are pure and innocent. And again, I'm not saying that what happens to people is entirely their fault, but what I'm just saying that it's a lot more complex than blaming some shadowy figure that's ill-defined. And it would be far more productive of people to, again, to examine their own lives rather than listen to these charlatans. Let's look at the next clip.
To be sold into the MK Ultra program, right?
Right, right.
I wanted you to tell about that.
Okay, so I was born into a multi-generational incest-based family. My father was sexually abused and ritually abused. His mother was a prostitute and a witch. My mother was sexually abused, and her father was in intelligence, and he ran a Blue Masonic Lodge. That Blue Masonic Lodge is where all the local politicians hung out, where the law enforcement and people being corrupted and manipulated into strategic positions of influence in society. That, you know, we hear about that from the Masonic lodges, where they have the secrets, the secret society. Well, they had the secrets on mind control that were brought over through Project Paperclip. These secret societies, that is their secret, and it's one that we have a right to know and a need to know, and a real important reason to have to understand it. So my mother's sexual abuse included being trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge. Well, by the time I was born into this multi-generational aspect, I was actually genetically born with a compliant attitude. So whether I had been sexually abused or not, I'd have been compliant. And I'd have gone, I was highly suggestible, easily led, even if I hadn't been abused. But I was abused, horribly abused. And my father's sexual abuse was, it happened in infancy. So I couldn't judge what he was doing was wrong. I didn't know any, you know, I mean, it was just an infant. But my brain knew.
So you saw there, we saw the one pandering to a sense of compassion. We all, well, most of us feel that we are compassionate people. We want to empathize with people. And she's presenting herself as the victim to which, well, she is in need of sympathy and compassion and assistance, and people have a desire to do that, and she's pandering to that desire when she's none of those things. She's just She's just a con woman. Let's look at the next clip.
How you did it and how you wrote about it in that book.
Well, PTSD Time to Heal is the healing methods that Mark taught me and reminded me. It's what he found buried under national security. It's a very, very thin little workbook.
It's very readable,
and
yeah.
Yeah, it's not about me, it's about us all. It just reminds everybody the same way that Mark reminded me. He couldn't release that information because as a spook working the highest levels of intelligence and mind sciences, Mark couldn't release the information because he was bound by laws of sedition.
Mm-hmm.
But it was my experience to heal with those methods. And I'm not bound by laws of sedition, so I released it.
So here she's pandering to people's sense of justice and a desire to see justice done when she refers to, well, she set up the situation where these terrible, horrible things happened to her, and she's setting up the rescue, the knight in shining armor come to rescue her. Everyone loves a rescue story, everyone loves a happy ending, and she's pandering to that. Whereas, like, well, there's no happy ending because there's no story to begin with. It's all just figments of her imagination. It's all just a bunch of nonsense. Let's look at the next clip.
The information on the medicinal benefits of cannabis were suppressed under national security and then demonized through their media voice, you know, that it's something so awful. Well, they couldn't maintain the military under mind control if they smoked. So it was considered the most horrible drug. It was the only one that was like strictly forbidden under MK Ultra mind control.
So here in this clip you saw that she's pandering to a desire for an easy solution, that all these emotional problems we have can be simply cured by a drug, in this case cannabis. But in reality, medication is, or in some cases, essential. I'm not arguing against medication for depression or emotional problems, but it's not the answer. Just having this one thing, in this case cannabis, is not going to solve your problems, but people wish that it would, and she's pandering to that desire. Let's look at the next clip.
Any level of mind manipulation with medical cannabis.
But they don't think we're onto them at all, do they?
They might be catching on to the fact that people are waking up because they're not complying anymore like they were at first. They're rethinking everything, and they're taking a look at what's really going on. So I think they've got a pretty good clue that people are waking up. The Great Awakening is a very real thing, and there are those of us who have great insight into their methods that are laughing at them because they're making ridiculously foolish mistakes.
So here you see she's pandering to a desire to be part of the group, to follow a trend, to not be left behind. Let's look at the next clip.
Living as a cyborg who just parrots talking points from the CIA all day long.
Yeah, we see the ones that are still stuck in that parrot mode, the ones that obviously are still watching the mainstream media voice of these puppet masters.
Oh my God, my whole family, you know, they just can't.
Yeah,
they got to believe it, I guess.
They just switch from
one
narrative to the next.
They got to believe Biden got 81 million votes.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's so stupid.
I mean, that's just one of them.
So here you see something similar to the previous clip. She's pandering to people's desire to feel important, to feel like they're an elite group, and that they're an elite group that has this special knowledge, and that they can look down on people who don't have this special knowledge. They don't use this phrase, but a common phrase is sheeple. They look down on the sheeple, and it's only them that know they're somehow better than the rest. So it's an emotional need. It's of course based on nothing, so it's based on fantasy. So none of this is factual. It's all counterfactual. It's just appealing to an emotion. In this particular case, a rather dark emotion that's going to just cause this person in the long run to have more emotional problems. Let's look at the next clip.
Because this shit ain't working.
Yeah.
It's going to get ugly if we don't, right?
Yeah, this is our time. It's our time to shine. People are doing it, and we just gather our strength of spirit. It's what they fear the most. We get it with our free thought, and collectively, I mean, they can't control us. They only have as much power as we give them or let them steal.
Yeah, and
No
they
more.
assume it for themselves too. So it's like the emperor's naked. So you just want to go, hey, buddy, you're naked. You need to go home and put on your pants and zip them up all the way.
So here you see a desire to a call to arms that they've established through the whole video, that there are these evil doers doing these evil things. But you can help, you can do something to fight this evil. And that it really appeals to people, that I want to join a cause and fight for what is good, which is such a waste of people's potential, because people will actually follow this woman and just go down this rabbit hole of nonsense, feeling like they're doing something good, whereas they're simply just falling prey to this woman to get you to buy her books, to give her the kind of narcissistic supply that she needs. So both these women, also the host, Roseanne, that will just ruthlessly exploit people and to get attention and to make money through people's paranoia, by selling fantasy and nonsense. So that's pandering. Watch out for it. My name's John Alexander. Thank you very much for watching.